I think it's safe to say that most people that play this game have purchased at least one premium vehicle, specifically aircraft, in their time playing War Thunder. It is a free-to-play game after all, so it wouldn't surprise me if you just picked up one premium vehicle here and there, and some people might have multiple. And that's okay. If that's how you want to spend your money, then nobody really should be telling you what to do with your hard-earned cash. But if there is anybody out there that's free to play and has never spent a cent on this game, let me know. I'd be curious to hear your experience, what kind of grinding you're able to do. Entirely free to play, I don't know, it'd just be kind of interesting. Anyways, on the same coin, I bet there's a lot of people out there that would tell you that if you're brand new to the game, for example, then it's probably not a good idea to be buying your way into a rank 5, 6, or 7 premium and have basically no experience whatsoever. They'll be like level 10, might have 5 matches of ARB played, and you'll see them flying around in an F5C at 10.3 battle rating. Now, it doesn't have to be an F5C, that was just one example I used. It could be any of those, premium packs of jets, or one of the premium jets you buy with Golden Eagles. But you get the point I'm trying to make, and I'd say that the majority of the community kind of frowns upon people doing that, low levels with very minimum experience just buying their way into jets. And while I understand where they're coming from, I also completely disagree. Personally, I don't have any kind of problem with somebody buying their way into jets or purchasing a premium of any kind with whatever experience they have. It doesn't matter to me. And here's why. While the inexperience is going to show. When you see a level 10 flying an F5C, you're probably going to be able to tell before you even check the stat cards. However, that kind of goes with anyone that is flying a jet for the first time, whether it be an F5C or not. Then you could make that debate whether or not they should be in 10.3, to where you can see the complete top tier, what's supposed to be top tier best players in the game. Again, in reality, that's just not true. I've been playing this game for 8 years. That's a really long time. And I can tell you from my personal experience that there are people of all levels of skill across all of the battle ratings. It doesn't matter if you're an 11.0 top tier flying your F40 and MiG-21 bis. Every once in a while, you're going to find that guy that just doesn't really know what he's doing, and he kind of just grinded his way through the tech trees without actually learning how to play the game. That happens a lot more often than you'd think. Speaking of which, how many times have you played a top tier jet match where within the first 10 seconds somebody's crashed on takeoff? You don't see that a whole lot in props, but you see it a lot in top tier jets. Now, it could be happening for a variety of different reasons. Jets are taking off at faster speeds. It's easier for one little bump of the mouse to completely destroy the jet, etc., etc. But the point still stands. People are crashing at 11.0 on takeoff. These are supposed to be the most experienced and skilled players in the game. So let's get back a little more to the point here. If you did say, I don't know, just use example, buy an SU-9, I think it's, no, not the SU-9, the SU-11. So if you bought the SU-11, you've never played ARB before, and your first time playing ARB is in the SU-11 as a jet game, you're really not missing a whole lot from your first experience being in a jet game versus somebody who's played all through rank 4 props, and they finally bought their first jet in the tech tree, and they're about to play their first jet game. There's not going to be a whole lot of discrepancy there between the two skill levels. The reason being is because jets and props don't play anything alike at all. Now, the guy that bought his way into jets might do something slightly less skillful than somebody who has grinded through props and played jets. Like, for example, people that you saw in this clip spraying out their entire magazines of ammo. You saw that MiG-17 earlier in this clip. He actually ended up running out of ammo from solely shooting at me, and he had to return to base. You saw how many other MiG-17 ASs that were missing their shots. But again, this could happen with anybody who is aiming MiG guns for the first time. Let's be honest, the 37mm on the MiG-15 and the MiG-17 takes a lot of practice. It doesn't matter if it's your first time flying it in the premium MiG-17 or the tech tree MiG-17, you're going to have a hard time aiming the guns either way. And maybe not by the MiG-17 and the tech tree, but the tech tree MiG-15 bis, which they're relatively the same battle rating bracket. it's going to be a hard first time no matter what, whether you're a premium player or not. There's just so much new stuff to learn in jets that you're really not missing out a whole lot by not playing props to begin with and grinding your way up to jets. Props are pretty much entirely about altitude, and while other skills are going to come in handy, if you have altitude in props, whether you're a boom and zoom aircraft or not, you can win any fight versus anything as long as you start with a high enough altitude advantage. As long as you can control that energy and just boom and zoom, then you're good to go. Jets, that doesn't exist at all. Boom and zoom has no place in jet combat. It's rarely ever a viable tactic that you're going to use to any degree of success. Pretty much all of jets is about speed and managing your speed in different energy states, as well as, well, aiming. There are very few transferable skills between prop combat and jet combat. For example, maybe you might learn how to manage your flaps better if you've been playing props before jets, or maybe you know how to, I don't know, let's say stall fight. I don't know. That's still not very transferable because stall fighting and props versus jets is entirely different, but you get the point I'm trying to make. The combat's just nothing alike to where you're really not missing out on much starting from a prop. Because once you start out in a jet, it doesn't matter what skill level you had beforehand, you're pretty much learning from scratch anyways. Let's take aiming for example. Aiming in jets is entirely different than aiming in props. The speeds at which you're fighting at are going to change your lead so much and so drastically. You're going to be taking lead at such a wide range of lead versus not leading, I guess, for a lack of a better term. It's almost not transferable at all for any of the cannons. Even something as broad as, say, target prioritization, it's just not the same in jets. You're not going to be learning a whole lot in props that you're going to be able to carry over in jet combat for who to attack versus when not to attack, when to run away, when to help your teammate, when to bait, etc. The scenarios in which you're doing these things are going to be completely different in jet combat. And one of the number one skills you need to have at top tier gameplay, where there's flares and missiles, phantoms and MiG-21s, is positioning. And positioning is not something you really learn at all in prop combat. In fact, the extent of your positioning skill level is pretty much who climbs higher. There's not a whole lot going on there for what angle to come at somebody, where to start so that you can make your attack better, where to start so that you can optimize, releasing your weapons in a certain order, or trying to help your teammates in a certain order, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really happen to the same degree or extent that it happens in jets. Because, honestly, it's just because everything moves so much faster in jets. You've got planes that are flying almost Mach 1 to Mach 2. Well, really, probably more like 1.4 is the fastest you're ever going to see anything in actual combat, but still, you get the point. On top of that, every time you go up a battle rating in jets, there's a whole plethora of new game mechanics that you have to learn how to utilize or defeat. Things such as new missiles, high G missiles, SAMs on the airfields, flares, RWR, radar, all this stuff is things that you're going to be learning from scratch, no matter if you're a tech tree prop grinding player or if you've bought yourself a premium jet. It really doesn't matter where you started when you're learning things like this. Your first jet is going to be a nightmare. Your stats are going to be garbage. You're going to be sometimes discouraged because you think that the plane's a whole lot better than the results you're getting. And I can promise you, if it's your first time playing jets, 10 times out of 10, it's you and not the jet. This goes for everybody. My first jet was the P-80. At the time, it was called the P-80A Shooting Star. Now it's the F-80. But my first jet was the P-80, and my stats in that thing are horrendous. I was always mad because I thought everything was better than my P-80, etc., stuff like that. And that's just going to happen all the time for everyone's first jet, whether it's a premium jet that they're using to grind the entire tech tree, or if you've already grinded the tech tree with your props and it's your first time flying the F-84, the F-80, things of that nature, the ME262, the MiG-9, it doesn't matter, you're gonna have the same experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, what does it really matter if people are buying into jets when A, tech tree players aren't always necessarily better than the premium players that are buying their way in. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there's people of all skill levels across all of the battle ratings. You might be playing somebody that you would swear is playing the game with, one hand and I don't know, moving the camera with eye tracking software. The skill levels are they're very wide range in War Thunder, and that's one of the good things about it. There's no ranking system, there's no skill-based matchmaking, and there's no expectation that you're going to be any better at rank 7 than you're going to be at rank 3. Now I will admit, to some degree, there is a little bit of truth in the argument that premium players are going to be less skilled. For example, it depends on what the plane is. Like, let's say somebody's bought an F5C, because that's really popular right now. They're going to be a little worse off than somebody who started at 7.0 jets and grinded their way up to 10.0, but that's only 3 battle ratings we're talking about worth of gameplay there that this guy's missing. It's not going to take a whole lot of time for the F5C player to catch on. Now, as far as the skill difference between somebody who's grinded props and somebody who's grinded the F5C, there is 0. The only thing that's really going to transfer over that's actually noteworthy when you're playing props is defensive flying skills. The ability to dodge shots and enemies' nose position while looking backwards. So essentially flying while looking backwards with your camera. I will admit that is something that you're going to learn in props that is actually going to carry over in jets. But other than that, I mean, the games are just completely different to a degree. And my last point that I want to make here before I close off the video is, what about the people that downloaded War Thunder solely because, say, their dad flew Phantoms in Vietnam, or their grandpa flew the F-86 Sabre in Korea, stuff like that, and they see War Thunder and the chance to play them themselves, only to download the game and see years worth of grinding before they can even get to the vehicles that they got the game for. Now, for me, I don't have any problem with people just buying the premium so that they can play what they want to play, and I really don't think anyone else should be that concerned with it to tell people to not play the game because of that. That's the end of my rant. I'll see ya.